Remember to hide flag icons maybe for... No. For screenshots. No. Well, hello, YouTube fans, friends, new recruits, and veterans to the channel. Here we are, Alternate History Gaming, where we'd try to replay history, but we can't, so it's alternate. I am your humble and gracious player host, Bank60s, and we are back once again with Scourge of War Gettysburg, the remastered edition. Tonight is a special stream. We're going to do a number of how-tos. I won't necessarily be under the pressure of a scenario to win. However, we do want to try and learn together how it is you can create some really epic battles, those division, corps, army versus army scenarios. And I'll try and go through and teach you just how things play out when you try to command things at those higher levels here in Scourge of War. It's a pretty steep learning curve. It's something I know that a lot of players, especially newer players, struggle with when approaching the game. Let's dive right in to how you want to try and set things up to begin with before we jump into actually moving troops around the map in these larger formations and understanding how that all works. The first thing to know is that we're going to be doing sandbox play, so you won't be using these scenarios here. You'll get back to the main menu and you'll end up in the sandbox, right? So what I want to get to before we actually jump into this part of the stream and how to, a very important part of this is to understand that we are going to have some mods. One in particular that helps you play this style of large, high-level command, Corps v. Corps, Army v. Army type of battle more easily here in Scourge of War. So let's check out what we have. I've added a particular mod for flavor, by the way. That would be the first one you see here. Cavalry Artillery et al. Retextured. I think that's a useful, good mod. Red Bugler, Randy did a good job with that. As you can see here, all horses and mule teams retextured in various shades of brown and black so that they don't all look the same out there. I like that. Here is the one that's the most important to use, though. The Gettysburg Grog Toolbar X64. It will become more apparent as we jump into the gameplay itself why it's so important to have this toolbar enabled in your modifications when you're playing these larger sandbox scenarios. Once again, Randy, the developer on this and the author, so thank you to Randy once more. Those are the two mods you want. Now, one particular technical item that's worth covering, especially for those really new players to Scourge of War, is when you go to Steam, you select the Workshop tab in Steam, and it works like how you add and subscribe to modifications for just about any other game. And the Workshop is really robust for the Scourge of War products. Honestly, compared to many other games, I think it works rather well and even better. I think that some other games neglect the Workshop altogether. But you begin by subscribing to Grog Toolbar, and then you will come back into your game, click the Modifications tab as we have here. You will click the check mark in the circle next to Grog Toolbar like this. You, since I've already done it, I won't, but you will click the check mark. At that point, you then need to resign and get out of the game and restart your game. I know it's a little bit quirky and perhaps a little extra step, but it works for you. It'll only take another few seconds, and off you'll go into our sandbox. Let's go single player, sandbox. We're going to start with division versus division, and I'll go through, starting with the infantry division, how they move around the field, how you can get a large formation like that moving it into formation quickly and easily. I go with the Confederates a lot of the time because I know their order of battle the best. So I'm going to go with Hood's division of infantry. We'll do the Gettysburg battlefield. It's a big battlefield, and that way we'll have plenty of time and plenty of room before the enemy troops show up. And I've also ratcheted the aggressiveness of the AI way down to give us more room and time to just talk through how we're going to use all of these orders. Now you can see here under select an order of battle the various different orders of battle that you can choose from. I have already chosen the Gettysburg standard game campaign order of battle and Hood's division. When you select a different order of battle, it will bring up different options up here. And you can see there's a lot of variety in the list. Then we come down here, and what I've found is best if it is a division versus division scenario, 3 or 4 objectives if you're playing against the AI will usually yield a fairly realistic playthrough, whereas objectives are spread across the map in a way where the AI will kind of spread their force in order to get to all of them. The objectives get set, I believe, pretty well. Score limit. This is one where you end up kind of having to do a little bit of math. Grab your phone, grab out the calculator, understand exactly how many points you want each objective to be, how long you want it to take to get that many points, and then how much the score limit will be, and you have to factor in how many casualties you think that there will be. If the score limit is too high, then the battle will not end up yielding a result with points through an automatic victory before the clock runs out, usually. When you are in larger scenarios, the game length in minutes, usually you will want to set at the maximum number 4 hours. And if you're playing on a big, huge map, you definitely want to do that because it will take quite a bit of time before the armies, parts of the corps ever come in contact. But for this division versus division, we'll just bring it down to 120 minutes because I want to show you that usually will work just fine. And usually in a division on division matchup in sandbox play, you'll want to choose not the Gettysburg map, but maybe do something smaller like Pickett's Charge or Devil's Den or perhaps the East Cavalry Field, something where the divisions on each side will come in contact much more quickly and get to fighting that much sooner. But again, our focus here is going to be on learning how to move by division, starting with infantry, and also to understand when the troops get moving and how they'll end up forming, how it will look. That way you've got an eye on that, what each of the different formation commands in the toolbar look like when they actually get on the field. I think that'll be an important part of what we do here this evening. So let's launch this sandbox game as Hood's division real quick. Jump into the chat. Thad Diaz, Sandbox is a whole lot of fun, especially in multiplayer, by the way. Thank you for watching. And for all of those who are supporters of the channel, we are a pretty small community here right now. There's a lot of folks who follow the channel closely. I would appreciate it if you did. Go ahead, give me that thumbs up. It helps the stream get out there to more folks. Anybody who ends up watching the stream later on and hasn't seeing a whole lot of the channel, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. I want to keep growing things here. Thank you for that ahead of time. All right, so right off the bat, I'm going to push pause. I hate doing that, but for this, I think it's important for us to just take a moment and survey what we have in front of us and the way that it's laid out for us to begin the scenario, as well as just take some time to reacquaint ourselves with the Grog toolbar. You'll notice the Grog toolbar here does not look at all like the base game toolbar. Everything is here for you, all in one UI, okay? And then the other piece is that the Grog used command troops in those games. So let's just go over some of the icons in the toolbar to just kind of refamiliarize ourselves with what we've got in front of us right here. And it'll be a fairly simple and quick process. You'll notice in the top left corner, same as it's situated within the orders format structure here, is the Take Charge from AI button. The double time and officer double time buttons are here and here, wheeling here and here. Then we have the oblique and flank movements menu button. So in the Grog toolbar, this one's unique because when you click it, there will then be a second pop-up menu that arrives before you where you can either oblique left, oblique right, left flank march, or right flank march. And you make your choice through there. You see the road movement button for the unit, road movement button for the general, halt for a unit, halt for a general. You can see your advance when engaged, fall back when engaged, and retreat buttons here. A couple of things that are really important and really make the Grog toolbar one of the best ways to play a really complex, high-level, large-scale battle scenario is these buttons on the far right here. And it's really important that you understand and appreciate just how they can be used, because they will be important as we get into some of the movements of these larger formations going forward. You have take charge of officers. Now what that means is you will take charge of the officers who are all subordinate to the officer that you have selected. And the thing to make that's very a point to remind about is an understanding of what the function of take charge is. A reminder that when you click take charge, that means that that unit, that general, will not change what they are currently tasked with doing, whether that be standing still or moving somewhere, unless you tell them to change. So if I'm General John B. Hood and I want to make sure that none of his subordinate brigade commanders start doing anything on their own, for instance, changing formation or changing their facing and getting all willy-nilly here in the map, you want to take charge of officers. Okay? So that means each of his brigade commanders, law, will now be under take charge. Let's go ahead, we'll turn pause off because things usually don't happen when you click them in the toolbar unless time is actually running in the game. Let's look at some of our other brigade commanders and just make sure we've got them on take charge all the same. You can see Brigadier General George T. Anderson on take charge. The same for Robertson's brigade, and I think it's safe to assume that we're good with Benning as well. Now, we'll go back to me, and now we'll cover the take charge off all subordinates. Now, this is important because when officers and units too. So it's the opposite of this button here, which we'll go over in just a moment. But if we click that now, bam, what did that do? Let's go back to General Anderson. Oh, it didn't quite work, did it? Oh, we didn't unpause the game. That's why. So let's try it again. Now, you can see General Anderson is off, take charge, and able to do whatever he wants. But I don't want him going willy-nilly right now. We'll check General Robertson, same thing. Off, take charge, but we'll take him back for now. And let's do the same thing with the other brigades, Law and Benning. So you can see how that worked right there. Now, let's do another quick one, which is we've already got the officers on take charge of the whole division, all of the brigade officers. Well, let's go ahead and let's quickly take charge of everybody. And this is especially useful as you go back and look at my top tutorials, volume 1 of how to move a brigade all at once, how you want to be able to put units back on to take charge so that they will not stop moving. So once we get the division moving, a lot of the time anyway, if you're confident that the division won't run into enemy troops, you will want to click this button, take charge on all subordinates, which means that take charge will go on for officers and for all of the units, or at least it should. So let's check here. We've got Anderson, and let's go to one of his regiments, the 7th Georgia, which you'll see is now on take charge. And I want to reinforce right here, this is the most important aspect of Scourge of War. The game used to be called Take Command for a reason, because this button interaction, the flag, taking charge or not, was the focal point of the whole game system as far as moving and commanding troops. So that's the first thing to really understand. Take charge on versus take charge off. It's really important. So there's going to be a multi-step process to try and get the take charge dynamic of the whole division the way you want it, to get the troops moving and then keep them moving. Let's start by going back to our division commander. Let's go take charge off, right? Then let's get the division moving toward some destination, and we won't go too far away, and we'll form them up, okay? And this is where we'll just see how all the different formations look after we get to our destination. There's two ways you can go about it, of course, a number of ways, two in particular, and that is, of course, to right-click and move Hood, and he'll start moving. Now, I could go ahead and execute that selected command just by itself, or I could go ahead and quickly start right-clicking a bunch of what pops up here. That's one of the utilities of the Grog toolbar that actually does work pretty well compared to the base game toolbar in the remastered version of Scourge of War Gettysburg, at least so far as I've found. But for now, I want to kind of do this in a little bit of a multi-step process so that I don't confuse anybody and not do a lot of right-clicking, because that's kind of harder to see happening on the screen. So we'll go ahead, execute that, right? Well, in order to get the rest of his division on the move, we need to, you'll remember, select a formation for the division. Uh-oh, we got a camera that wants to keep moving. So we'll go ahead, and if we can get the camera to stop moving, we'll go ahead and select a formation right here. And we'll get it in line, okay? And so now everybody's moving. And in any regular, normal, average circumstance, I would want to go ahead and put all officers back on take charge. Now we'll go ahead and speed it up. And let's see where everybody ends up. Okay? This looks like just your basic march forward. A division line formation means that every brigade in the division will be lined up abreast of one another, but each brigade will be in double line formation. That is what comprises a division line formation here in the game. As you can see, there they all go, there they all are. Now, let's see what another formation looks like. Okay, let's again click our TC off all subordinates, and let's go here. Let's form up in double line. See the bugle out there, that's pretty cool. All right, so now you're going to have two brigades up front, both also in double line. You can see them still moving in their column formation in that double line. Now they're deploying. Then you'll have the other two brigades directly behind, also in double line. And so it is a very deep formation. Good for a strong punching attack along a narrow front with heavy support and reinforcement. So there is your division double line. All across the board right there. All right. So now let's see what else there is here and how it looks. We're kind of getting into some unfamiliar territory for me. I've kind of forgotten. Let's move forward a little bit further. And let's go with column in line. Oh, you see, now all of the brigades will be back to back or lined up kind of in front of one another with the leader at the back. I think that's something that's important to point out. And then they will all be in a single line formation, I'm pretty sure. Let's see what happens here. Got a lot of crisscrossing. Yep, you got this first brigade that's going to deploy out. It'll be in the rear. See, that would be law. Now, one thing that's important to mention here, too, is you don't get to select what order the brigades are in when you select the formation. So there's that. Some might criticize that part. But they'll all take their time, getting in their spots, one in front of the other, just like that. And usually, they should form up with the same brigade in the front and next and next and next each time that you try to form it up, just like this. Now, of course, usually in any given battle or combat scenario, you're not going to be changing divisional formations a lot. You're probably going to march the division forward in a formation and then get it into combat by brigade from there a lot of the time. We'll get these guys into their spot. I think they're going to come all the way to here, right? So you can see it looks a little bit funky because you have some of the brigades that just have larger regiments than the others. Let him get into place there. Just like that. And they move a little funky there too, sometimes. See, he went to several different waypoints in order to get there. And that's just one of the quirks of Scourge of War. I get frustrated a little bit with it when you're in tight and there's combat going on and the guys, you know, they want to go to a waypoint that's way over here instead of just going straight where you want to go, and you kind of got to redo their movement a little bit. That, you know, that's a little annoying. But there you have our, what is that? Column in line. Column in line formation. Right there for you to view. All right, next up, let's do our column by division formation. Let's move everybody over to here. Again, first selecting Hood, moving him, and selecting the formation, column by division. What's that look like? So this is more of an division-sized assault column formation like you would see for a brigade, I believe anyway. Let's see what this ends up looking like. Yep, I believe you will have each brigade along this frontage formed into its individual assault columns, column by division formation, all by itself. There you have that. So if you were to push forward an assault with a whole division that didn't plan on stopping and firing, or perhaps it was a whole division and you had a wide frontage out here to attack, or that you wanted to attack, you could form them up in this formation here, drive forward just staying in this formation, and then spread out. And of course you can see getting it, you know, there's a little lack of realism in the way that they have to pathfind and choose waypoints to get to their final deployments. But there you can see what a division, column by division, looks like right there. Another funky one here. Where's he going? Oh, he's trying to get all the way over here, huh? Okay. Very well. So this is kind of just the base foundation that I'm showing you here. It's good to know how all of this works, because once you get into your core, a lot of the time you're going to be moving things around before making contact with enemy troops. You're going to be moving divisions all at one time. That is the way that you will likely be moving your formations around, is by a division. You're not going to go brigade by brigade. You're not going to form up as a whole corps. That ends up being kind of ridiculous, which I may show you, or I may not. We'll see. Usually you'll be moving one division and then another division and then another division. You're forming them up in that way. And then there's the other thing, of course, to add, which is that artillery gets thrown into the mix. And you can move artillery formations all at once as well, and we'll get into that too. So you can see how that wound up right there in column by divisions for Hood. Now, let's go ahead. Let's make sure we're off. Okay, cool. So now we're going to do one that's kind of an offshoot. This is your, let's right click and go. This is going to be specialty formations, okay? Now, this is interesting. I actually have not explored this too awful much, but you've got move assault lines 300 yards forward, move double lines 300 yards forward, move assault line 600, 900. So let's see what this does. Oh, wow. Okay, so they'll form another version of that. What was that called? This column in line. And what I'm thinking right now is that what you will do often enough is you'll take half of the division and move it up, and then leave the other half 600 yards behind, potentially. Let's get them up and formed up there. You'll see also, as a side note, the supply wagon will always follow around the division commander. That's an important thing to know, especially when you get into those big engagements. Wherever it is that you think your supply wagon should be, go to the division commander to go find it or near there, and it will probably be out distributing ammunition somewhere close to where the division commander is, if not up near the brigades on the front line. And so there you have that. And I do believe that the brigades ended up in a slightly different order. Although I don't know that for sure. You're going to have to check me on that. Go back and watch the video when it actually posts, right? So let's do this now. Let's come back to here and let's see what this looks like. So this will put the division into double lines, okay? So what do we got? We'll have the division double line formation, and I believe the real difference is with that it will get itself that much further ahead of the general and the supply wagon and, say, the artillery that's behind it. So it'll be formed in that division line formation like we were at the very beginning. It'll just be pushed forward further. And that goes the same, of course, for the rest of these special formations. You can see these would end up the same, going pushing forward. We'll just triple check and make sure they are what I think they are, of course. Let's go, say, here, and let's do the 600. Yeah, so now the division commander will be here, and now all of his troops will be way up there in that stacked assault column formation, right? Okay, so now let's go here, and let's do 600, boom. Okay, now they'll get back out in their line, and they'll be way far ahead, 600 yards out, and that's how that goes. And right there, I think it was something to import that's maybe just a tad quirky. The commander of the division, Hood, didn't really go where I wanted him to go. He's going to go where the formation assigns him to go after you set the formation. I think that's something that's good to point out. So you see all of that right there. Very cut and dry, pretty simple, the way that you move things together as a division. It's good to get used to that. It's good to see it, because moving as a division is, in these larger scenarios that I'm going to show you, what you're going to be busy doing for the most part. Now, here is where the grog toolbar comes in very handy, and I'll show it to you now so that you can get acquainted with it, because it's going to be the biggest help to you when you get into these large complex engagements here in just a little bit when I show you that. The command map. Now, the base game doesn't have this in it, or at least I haven't found it. It just has a map. So there's a difference between the map, which allows you to actually go around from place to place and move the camera to that place, right? There's a difference between that and the command map, which is the same thing, right, initially, but it's different. Okay, so you can do all of what we just did using the pointer, changing formations, moving the division forward, and all the rest using the command map. And you probably, if you can gather it now, can tell how this can be super helpful when you have tons of troops on the map in the scenario. So let's go back to me. Okay, hood, got to take charge. Let's take off take charge for everybody. I always... By the way, that's something I just get in the habit of triple checking all the time. That I've got everybody off take charge when I want to make sure to move the whole formation, and oftentimes try to put them back on take charge for all subordinates or officers, depending on the situation, when I want to make sure and keep the troops moving. So let's take command of me. We've got everybody off. Great. Okay, now I am going to left click on a portion of the map that is ahead of the division. Let's say right there. Okay. You will see me now moving there. Now all we have to do is select a formation, right? So let's go division in line. And off everybody will go. We will go select TC on all subordinates so that they will keep moving and not stop. And that is how you can very quickly and easily, simply get a whole division on the move right where you want it on the line from the bird's eye view here on the map. That is the magic stuff right there. That's how you get everybody where they're supposed to be. That's how you don't get overwhelmed, essentially. Now, you don't want to work with the command map when you get into combat and you're going brigade by brigade or getting in detail and moving a regiment here or there. The command map is strictly the most useful for getting large formations of troops, artillery, or cavalry from one place to another place on the map without having to spend a whole bunch of time scrolling to that place on the map or getting confused by clicking the map and then getting the camera there and then orienting the camera in the facing that you want them to be in and then right-clicking to get hood up there and then formation. Just use the command map. You got hood. You move him forward. Boom. Formation. Bam. Line. Forward they come for a little closer to Gettysburg as a result of basically 2 clicks. Oh, they didn't get moving this time, though. That's because I have to TC off all subordinates before I do that, and then boom, hit line, and off they'll go. There you have it. See? Take charge on, take charge off. Incredibly important. I love to make little mistakes like that in my tutorials here to just help show you how important all of that is, right? It's all by design. So that is a really important part that's important for everybody to understand. And then, of course, the next things are to kind of go over the ways that the grog toolbar helps you not have to manage so much with your left hand doing the keyboard. In the base game, if you're trying to move quickly up and down the order of battle or side to side, you do have to use the arrows on the keyboard for the most part. Here with the grog toolbar, you don't have to do that because they put them right here for you. OOB up, OOB down. So let's go down. All right, so when you select that, you will not get a choice on which brigade commander that it goes down to, you will just get one of them. And this time it just happens to be Anderson's brigade. And you click this to go to the next one, next one, next one, right? As we get ourselves formed up, after moving ahead on the command map like we did, and then we can go back up to hood. Just like that, it's the quick click of the mouse. I love the grog toolbar for that. Makes me want to use it more and more, of course, right? Now, these are buttons that you will use less. So let's say, though, you've got the division. Let's go take command off of everybody. You got the division set. The enemy is out there. They're somewhere pretty close by. All right, we don't want to change much. We're deployed. The division is set in its line, okay, or nearly there. And all we really want to do is we want to get at the enemy, and we want to get the division forward and into combat if we're trying to send the entire division forward into combat, obviously. What we'll do, and you've seen this before, the move forward icon or button. So move formation forward, 50, 100, 300, 500, 1000. What I like about the grog toolbar, different from the base game toolbar, is that with the grog toolbar, it has more options and all the way out to 1,000 yards of moving forward. I believe the base game options only go up to 500. I'm pretty sure that's right. But let's just move the division forward 100 yards. You can see everybody stays in their ranks, in their double lines, and they just go forward. That's your move forward button on the grog toolbar. This indicates, of course, that they are all going forward when you saw that moving. Now, move unit forward. Let's take a look here. Right? Okay, so this has to do more so with individual regiments, but I believe it will work for an entire division also. Ah, no. Oh, very interesting. Okay, that's a good test. What that will do, move unit forward, is take just what you have selected and move it forward. So let's say we wanted to go exactly forward from where Hood was and form up the division. Instead of right-clicking out here like this, let's straighten him out. Wheel. We could click move unit forward 100 yards and then push line, and his troops would follow him. Just like that. And if you know the game well enough, you'd know that when the troops have to move out to the front quite a ways, they will form column first and then deploy out into their formation from there. You have your other buttons to send a unit back to the rear into the ordnance wagon to resupply. We won't jigger with that too much, and it's not one that you mess with a whole lot until you're late into a combat action and each regiment has been in combat for some time. You can send it back to get ammo. I believe actually the button will pop up. Now, we can go through the grog toolbar options for individual units really quickly. I think that would be important for us to do just because we're working with a different toolbar than we've worked with in our past playthroughs. All of these buttons are relatively the same. You have the lay down, stand up button there kind of in the middle. I love the grog toolbar because it has an about face button. This prevents you from having to do all of this nonsense to get a regiment flipped around the way that you would want it. I have to credit Randy for making this about face button, frankly. And it still kind of does that, which is, you know, a little bit annoying, but not terrible. Let's do that. Okay, let's take command of this guy just because. And now, let's split a battalion. This is the grog toolbar's magic. Here in the Civil War game, in the base game, even with remastered, you don't have the ability to manually control when little battalions get split off of your main regiments. And you can do it just like you do in the Scourge of War Napoleonic series of products, all the same. It just looks a little different as far as the display here. You can split them off 75% of a unit, half of it, a quarter of the unit, 50 men, 100 men, 200 men, a battalion form skirmish order. So let's do that. It gets the whole regiment in skirmish order, right? Let's send it back into line. Good. And for those that aren't as familiar with how this looks when you do it, let's split off 200 men, boom, and come up with another flag. And it will also be under take charge. Now here's the one that I actually don't know about yet with Scourge of War Gettysburg Grog toolbar. If I take that off, there you go. Once you take it off of take charge, the AI will assume that what you want to do is put those troops into a skirmish formation. And they'll move them out front of the regiment in skirmish formation. This is really great because it is a more realistic reflection of the things that happened on the ground, especially before heavy combat was joined between two Civil War army formations. A lot of the time, you would have combinations of companies, one company that was detached out as skirmishers to be flankers or out in front of the position or out in front of the regiment rather. And this gives you the ability to do that really, really well. Now we'll click this button to unsplit them and they'll go back to their unit. There is one thing to note. A lot of the time, if you give the brigade commander back, there we go, an inconclusive fight. Yeah, well, we'll go back to the battle. If you give a brigade commander back to his own initiative, and then you give him an order, and by the way, here's where the orders button is, and here's where the options are for your brigade commanders and or your division commanders to carry out the various orders that we've gone over in a previous video. Hold to the last, hold, defend, probe, attack, all out attack, right? Once you get him back into any of these stances and he's operating on his own initiative, a lot of the time he will do something different than what you did with your split battalions. He'll bring a lot of them back in and he'll decide to do something totally different. And so you just need to be mindful of that once you get into some combat with those things. I would say that just about covers an infantry division and moving with those large formations. For now, let's switch and get out of this scenario to a different kind of division. So we'll do the same thing. This time, though, we will be Major General Nobody. I love that. We'll be Jeb Stuart with all these cavalry brigades, right? Let's do that. Division versus division, hunt them down. Yep. Let's do score limit up so that we don't get a premature result like we kind of did before. Let's do 3 objectives, fine. Objective time limit, 60 minutes. Starting time 11 is fine. Let's jump in. And let's just see what all of the different cavalry formations look like. This is a little bit of learning for me too. I actually am not totally familiar with how they all work out. And by the way, I like how some of these horsies were retextured. I think that looks pretty good. So here we are, Jeb Stuart. Stuart's division / cavalry corps, right? So let's see. I don't know what formation they're in right now, but let's see what, let's move him to here and let's see what, let's get everybody off, take charge, and let's see what regular old line looks like. Oh, it looks like they'll get into one big long line. That would appear to be the case. Oh, they're all crisscrossing here. That's kind of a funny looking deal. Don't those horses all look pretty? They're still kind of, you know, samey. But not quite as much. Oh, okay. Are we looking at same as division with, or same as division line with infantry? It looks like everybody's going to form a double line all across the front. We've just got larger units here, so it'll be a larger formation. And then you have, okay, this is a nice little piece that's added. They put an artillery battery attached with this group of cavalry, and you can see where the artillery ends up in each of these formations. And so I'm glad that we'll have that here. And his commander moving here. We'll just click that to make sure all the officers don't go willy-nilly. Yeah, they got a ways to go, don't they? Boy, that sure looks cool, though. All them horsemen. We got over 7,500 troops here, or roughly 7,500. Wow. Like that. So this time, I'm going to jump into the command map and issue the division in order to move. And I'll be especially interested to see where the artillery ends up. Okay, off, take command for all subordinates, command map. And we're going to go straight south to here. And then we're going to form up in this formation, column with reserves. See what that does. And then, of course, if you want to get the whole formation on the double time, there you have that. Okay, so you can see here, they just get set in one big, long columns formation with the artillery way at the back, right? So that's easy enough. And we didn't really move too far forward at all with the whole formation, right? All right, so off of everything, back to us. Command map. Let's go here, and let's form up in double line. And let's double click it with everybody. Let's click on all officers so they don't stop. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so much like with the infantry, looks a lot the same, right? You just have one brigade, and then two more back here, and then I believe our third will be abreast of this one. And so what it'll end up doing is, it'll just, if you've got 5 brigades, there's our artillery in the very rear. You'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it were a 6 brigade division, you'd have another one here, right? There's our third. Boom, look at all that. Probably a good spot for a screenshot somewhere in here. All right, let's get back to me there. All right, off, take command for everybody. Again, back to the command map. That's how we're going to run things here, okay? Now let's go. Now, okay, this is actually pretty important to know. I didn't mention this the last time we used the command map to move the formation around. It's a good idea for you to actually be aware of something before you utilize this, and that is, what direction is Jeb Stuart facing right now. Right? He's facing to the a few points east of south. Okay? So, if you go, say, to the east a long way, and he starts running over there, right? And let's form up in double line again, and let's go double time. The whole division will now change facing. Okay, that's important to understand. It's another way to move the division around and get it to change facing as you go, but you got to make sure before you get too crazy that you understand that which way your division commander is facing before you start going too crazy with your movement order for the whole formation. We've got a comment from Santain Plan Box. I don't know exactly what that means. But see, there you have that. Let's bring the entire formation away from the town and back up on the ridge. Boop, right here. And let's get them formed up in, let's say, column by divisions. All right, so I think it's going to end up working out the same as the infantry did for the most part. They all end up in column by division, lined up abreast of one another. Where's the artillery end up? Okay, back here. So the artillery will always form formations at the very rear. Yeah, okay. So everything's pretty consistent across the different branches, cavalry to infantry and so forth. Cool. All right, next up, let's go. Let's move forward. So you, and by the way, I don't want to be too particular. You can see the facing of the entire division is thus, right? If you want to just make sure that you kind of pick a spot that's centrally located, that's right out in front of the division, boom, right there like that, and then do the old column and line. We know that will stack them up, right? There's that. I don't think there's anything else in particular that we wanted to look at. Each unit's status, there's the status button in the Grog toolbar there to take a look at details of its quality and different things. You have your courier interface, but we don't mess with that when we're in GodCam really at all. These are some buttons that in Grog are good to just kind of recognize, and that is the raid, send to raid weak enemy targets, the screen button where they will go out, they will look for enemy troops, and they will just kind of stay at a distance. They may engage, but they'll stay at a distance. And then this one is they will go out, look for enemy troops, and they will stay at a distance. They will stay away, but they'll just keep an eye out for enemy troops. And that's a quick way to just get troops out. And they'll just go where they think that they should go. I don't use this command a lot. Scouting or screening a lot. I haven't done that. I want to learn to utilize that better as I get into more large cavalry formation play, though. You can see here, they're going to do this on their own. They're going to jump over here onto the road. They're going to come all the way down the road over here. And they're just going to head toward where they think the enemy troops are and keep an eye on them. And then you got your mount and dismount button and all the others that you're pretty well familiar with. The other one is this. Oh, no, I thought that would bring them back. Well, the way you get them out of it is to just boop, cancel, scout, and then move them to somewhere where you want them. So it's a two-click process to get them out of the command to go scout. I believe for raiding, it's the same. Okay, off they go. Let's go cancel raid, and then move back to somewhere. Right-click to move, right? I see your question there, McKnight. Division commanders with troops. I don't understand the question. But this is, I'm showing you how to move an entire division and what the formations look like when you move them. Because I want to start with that. When you get into Corps v Corps and Army v Army, you will be moving primarily divisions. So that's a good start to see how infantry and cavalry divisions look and move all together as a division. So we'll go ahead and get out of this scenario. And then I'll do just a quick run through of the way that I like to set up your typical Corps v Corps action. So I'd probably set this one up on the East Cavalry field. That way we may be a little bit more likely to get into action sooner. I'm not going to actually play a battle, but I just wanted to kind of show you how you can use some of the tips that I've already showed, getting divisions in place along the line, and also using some of these tips to move larger artillery battalions around the map too. Let's do a stop-start on the recording real quick. All right, so we'll do the East Cavalry field. It'll be Corps v Corps. We do want to balance forces. We'll stick with Hunt Them Down. I've found Hunt Them Down is the best way to do any sandbox battle, either single player or multiplayer. Hands down. If you don't do it that way, I've just never found that it works out so great. You can line them up to where they're within line of sight of one another. That's fine, but it just doesn't allow for much maneuver. And I like the maneuver part of any battle. So the other thing, when you get into a Corps v Corps action, I like to bring the number of objectives up to like 6. Okay, we'll keep them at these values. We'll have the 60 points or 60-minute threshold. Start time's good. Game length, I think a Corps v Corps, 2 hours works just fine. Usually, 3 hours works better. Usually. Let's jump in as Longstreet's Corps, huh? Doom. Okay, now this is where oftentimes you can feel a little daunted. See, I've gone ahead, I've selected take charge of officers to keep any of my troops from just moving anywhere, changing facing and doing all that just on their own. The first thing that I'm going to go to is to the map. And now you can see how everybody's lined out, where all the objectives are, and you can kind of get a sense of where it is you're going to want to go for whatever sandbox battle it is that you're playing, or whether you're going to want to start over, refresh the map, refresh the objectives, and start a new one, so that maybe the objectives are placed on the map in a way that will give you the kind of battle that you're looking for. But now we've got a whole lot more troops to work with, right? We have 3 divisions. We know that because it's Longstreet's Corps, Pickett, Hood, McLaws. One way that I identify where everybody is to look here for a 2-star to see where his division, where that division is. A 2-star denotes largely a division commander, oftentimes an artillery battalion commander, a major. But in this case, we've got Hood here, Pickett in front here. Looks like Longstreet is near McLaws back here. And one thing I think that's important to know when you get in these larger formation engagements is the large formation commander will try and position himself in the center of the formation. A division commander, a brigade commander, etc., etc. Artillery commander and all the same. Now, this next tip is really important because you're going to get overwhelmed and it's going to waste too much time trying to click from place to identify which general that you're looking to move. Click there, click on him, do everything, come back to the command map. It just doesn't work well that way. The way you want to do it is you want to go to your order of battle. Okay? I want to click McLaws division. I want to select him. Now that I've got him selected, there will be a little green star that pops up. You can't quite see it so well here. So let's try a different division so you can see it a little bit better, okay? Let's go to Hood's division. Select the unit. And there you can see a green star pops up where that commander is, here on the command map. So In order to go ahead and advance on that objective, I've got hoods selected. I am going to take charge of everybody, take charge of him again, make sure that he is on take charge. We're going to come to here on the command map, pardon me, here, and then he is going to form line with his division. We're going to go ahead and select all officers, take command, right? And they'll get moving. And I don't want to stop there. I want to get back to my command map. I want this battery, Matthias Henry. Go to my OOB. Matthias Henry, select him. X out of that. Boom, boom. And we'll set him up here. And he'll get into a battery line, and we'll let them take the road. All right? And now all of these guns will get on the move. You can go with one click, I believe, get them all going in double time. All the ones that'll do it anyway. And so now, with just a few clicks, we've gotten Hood's whole division and all this artillery on the move. Okay, here's a bit that I think is really great to point out right off the top of getting into the core scenario. The difference between the real map and the command map is that with the command map, when you bring it up, it will show where your troops are ordered to go. The map will show you where they currently are. It's important to know that difference. And I know that this is looking a little janky right here. When you get up there, you do want to try to remember to try and clean it up when they get to the point where they've reached their destination and they're about to deploy out in the full formation. Okay? So next, let's go to Pickett's division. Okay? Pickett. Select him. Off all. Boom. And we'll make him the center division in the line. Form line. Off they'll go. We'll get his officers back under take command so that nobody stops, nobody changes anything. Next bit. Command map. Let's get Cabell going. Boom. Boom. Select unit. I just do that as a double take, double make sure. And we'll go here and we'll form battery line. We'll let them take the road because that's what you do a lot of the time. All right, so then we'll have McClaw's division. Now, what I want to do with it is keep it kind of in reserve, and we'll form him up about right here like this. Nope, we don't want to do that yet. All right. Oh, so Pickett's going to go there. We don't want to do that. Let's bring this up. Let's go select McClaw's. Select unit. Off all. Boom. Now, he's going to go kind of right out to here. And he'll form double line with his division. Boom. Let's go back to our command map, and let's grab Deering. And now you can see where McClaw's has been ordered to go already, right there on the command map. We'll probably end up specifically deploying brigades as we see fit, right? But let's get Deering on the move. Select unit. Let's get him going right there. We'll go double line with that artillery battalion. Back to our command map. And there you see how they form up in that double line battery formation. And off they go. Next up is to make sure the ordnance supply wagons all get where they need to be, of course. And that's kind of a last little bit. But as you can see, since they are off of take charge, they'll follow their division commander. And they'll go where they're supposed to go in each division and artillery battalion's formation. Move the time ahead. Go fast, fast, fast. I actually kind of like the way most of these batteries are deployed. This one could come here. Like that. And then we could take, I'm going to go to a regiment since I want to try to get there as quick as possible every time and just go boom, boom, 2 times to get back up to Hood. Okay, and then we'll just kind of, we'll just rejigger him a little bit, right? We'll just send him there, reform his line. Just like that. Now this will end up kind of looking a little bit cleaner. The way I like. That. These guys can stay the way they are. And now we've got a whole corps on the move. Just like that. Not as hard as you think it would be, and it's all a credit to Randy and his grog toolbar, frankly. So, thanks, Randy. And again, you click back on the command map to see where everybody's going, where they're going to end up. Click on the regular map to see where they are right now. Boom. Boom. And that, my friends, is how you get a whole bunch of troops on the move here in Scourge of War. That's really everything I wanted to go over in tonight's stream. I think on our next one, we'll actually try fighting a real battle for real here in a Core v Core sandbox. And I'll try to make sure you don't have to wait a whole week before we get to the next installment either on the stream. Once again, I appreciate everybody for taking the time to tune in tonight. It's huge of you to take the time to do that. Please, give the stream a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it if you did. Like, comment, and if you're new, subscribe. Hit that bell notification to find out the next time I drop a stream or video for you. And until then, I am Bank60s. This is Scourge of War and Alternate History Gaming. We'll see you on the next one.